Welcome to Mancave, manly conversations about life, living, and how we navigate through this life. I'm Eric Latif. Today, let's talk about life's ups and downs. You see, you wake up in the morning and you have your plan and you're living your life, and there's what you've decided you want to do. And then, as you're living your life, things change. How do you adjust to those changes? Are you alive to those changes? Well, to have a conversation with us is a celebrated filmmaker, creative, thespian, and very many things put into one, Mugambi Nthiga. Hey.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
So we're talking about life and the things that people do with life and in life. What are you currently doing with yours?
That's a good question. Since the pandemic upended all our lives, I found that there are things that I would have to do to put food on the table. So one of those things is commercial directing. That's what's taking a lot of my time now. So, it's directing, but instead of films or stage plays, it's ads. But then as that is happening, I still am working on a feature-length film, which is writing. And writing takes a while. It takes several months. So it's a long game.
So in the long game, a film.
The long game, a film, yes.
On a daily basis is directing.
Yeah, it's a commercial directing. Sometimes I'll do event hosting or event directing, and writing fun things, just the kind of short-term things that won't take too much. And also every Monday hosting a virtual film night. Like I select a film from Netflix. Use a certain software on the Chrome browser called Telepathy that can sync a screening for everyone. Yeah, so,
that's your life. How did you get here? What's your journey to this point?
Yes, I had always wanted to be an actor. Always. Since if there's one thing I thank the good Lord for is showing me the path quite early. And not in the way that, he came down from the clouds and said, be an actor. But when I was a kid, I'd watch movies and have such a strong conviction that that's what I wanted to do. And I honestly think that I think what parents need to be doing with their kids is that your child inherently knows what they want to be, what they want. They're not just saying it. Watch for what they're really passionate about. They think that you get irritated by them because they spend so much time doing or spending their time in. And I'm not talking about being a zombie on their phone. I just mean there's interests, things that they might express to you as to what they want to do. For me, that was acting. But I never had the opportunity to do it. I went to a small, private school that didn't get involved in the music festivals or the drama festivals. So when I went to high school, I finally had the chance now to join the drama club, which I did in my last 2 years of high school. And then and decided when I went into campus that aside from studying IT, which is what I was studying, that I wanted to get involved in the entertainment field. It's very difficult to just act in Kenya, at least back then, because I was getting in the mid-2000s, about 2005, 2006. It's not the only thing you could do. So after I took a break to go to the States and study and come back, and I started acting here again. That went well, but I was still doing it alongside a job. Then I quit my job, believing that I could be an actor full-time, and learned very quickly that that's not what's going to, keep food on the table by itself, at least for me. So yeah, I went into writing, and then I went into directing. And then when I was finally able to direct my own film, yeah, that's when I thought, I think I'll probably come full circle with it now. So, I can do the writing, the acting, and the directing as well, which is a good thing.
When people look at Mugambi today, they see the Mugambi of today.
Yes.
They may not see the Mugambi who's gone through all those stages that you've gone through.
Yeah.
So you've had your ups, you've had your downs, you've had your moments of plateau where you feel that you've hit a point where you're not sure whether you're going to go up or down.
Yeah.
Now, give us some of those instances in your life where those that are deep, that got you to a point and you asked yourself, did I actually choose the right thing? Should I have gone back and done my computer science and studied computers instead of just taking up this nonsense that I'm doing now?
I mean, that happens all the time. And sometimes it'll be a mild feeling and sometimes it'll be like an overwhelming feeling. I can talk about the more overwhelming ones.
Yeah.
If I can think about the alternate lifetimes I could have had, I could be, for instance, I could be still working in advertising now, be married with a couple of kids who would be a little older now, probably late primary school. Or I could, be involved in the church somewhere, doing some work for them. Or I'd be involved in TV or radio, and be a face like you. Or I could be in America, being a hotshot advertising executive in New York City. All of these were things at one point or the other I wanted to be. But failures came, or things just came that swerve, and you just had to adapt. I'm grateful, for instance, that when I had an advertising job that was toxic. It was difficult. I'm not saying the people were toxic. I don't think anyone is inherently toxic in and of themselves. I think a system might lead you there. And the system itself was really, it was all about the profits. It was all about, punitive measures for those people that messed up.
Yeah.
There was always a threat of being fired. Always. My boss would be like, "You're fired," and then he'd be like, "Wait, what?" And he says, "I've changed my mind. Come sit here. Why did you do that thing wrong?" Or some people would be fired and then they'd be called the next day, like, "Why aren't you at work?"
Yeah.
Because I got fired yesterday. "No, we've changed your mind. Come back in." The number of times I was threatened with dismissal, or one of my colleagues I was told by the boss, "I'm going to dismiss that one if they mess up." It created this culture where we were always watching our backs, and people are throwing each other under the bus, and you did whatever you could to get ahead. And quite unfortunately, that seems to be normal for a lot of people now. But it was not normal for me at that point. I'd been working in the ad industry for a bit, and I had left an ad industry that was quite homely and where people cared for each other. But suddenly, this is the trenches. This is war. You always have your gun.
Den,
yeah, you're in the lion's den,
pits.
and you have no idea when one is going to come and attack you. And I remember feeling like this is not my life, but I felt so stuck because I had to make money. I had to live. You're told you've gone out and gotten an education. What's the evidence?
You start earning.
Yeah, umeenda America kusoma na umekuja hapa kwa jobless, kwa bedroom ya mamako. Your people will talk like that.
So there's pressure from the society, there's pressure from your family
yes.
on what they expect of you.
Yes.
So you end up basically living under that pressure, and so not even being able to live your own life with that pressure.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that?
I left. But before that, I really, just tailspin. I ended up being quite depressed. We'd park our cars. So there was an office building where we worked, and then you'd park your car in a yard that was next to the building. And I noticed for a long time that a lot of people would park and not get out of their car immediately. And very quickly I became one of those people. Now, thank God, I had tinted windows. And so I could sit there and breathe or cry. I would do a lot of crying.
And this is the first thing before you report.
Before I go into the office, nakaa tu kwa office and I'm like, kwa gari, and I'm like, can I do this? Can I do this? I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. Then you panic and you cry for a good 15 minutes. And hope you don't get caught. And you have to stifle, or you put on the music so that it's loud, so someone will think, when I'm doing this, I'm bobbing to my music, but what I'm doing is actually sobbing. And I'll take retreats. I really, I remember once going to a party and not being able to stay there for very long because everyone was like, "So what do you do? What do you do? What do you do?" And I didn't want to tell them I work in advertising because I didn't want to commit.
You were not proud of what you were doing.
Exactly. I didn't want to be associated with this thing that's causing me so much misery. So I literally jumped into the car and ran off and went to a retreat center and stayed there for 2 days just to think about what needs to happen, what needs to change. And the thing that needed to change was that I needed to get out of there.
At this time when you were going through all this,
Yeah.
did you have close friends that could see what you were going through, that would ask you, what's up?
Yeah, I did, fortunately, quite fortunately. In fact, they didn't even have to ask because I didn't have to say anything. They would see me and say, "Hey, there's something here that's not right." After the fact, when a bit of light had come back into my life, they said, "Oh man, Mugambi, I was really worried about you, man. The light had dimmed from your eyes, your skin looked different, you walked with a slouch, I would talk to them, but you can only say so much when the things about your job are very specific.
Yeah.
If they're not in the same industry, they might not quite understand the intricacies of it. The other thing was that mental health conversations weren't being held as openly as they are now. I was actually quite embarrassed that I was depressed because I felt like I'd been beaten.
Did you know that you were depressed?
I did. I read through so many articles, did so much research, but I couldn't bring myself to go see a counselor or therapist or if it
So
got
you were
really bad, a
ashamed.
psychiatrist.
You were ashamed of basically going to tell somebody that
Yes.
I am depressed.
I was, very much. I think I only said it to people after the fact. The only person that I told, that this is how I'm feeling, and put those words was a very close friend who ended up being someone I dated for a few months. And it's, I think, because we found that sort of like communion in our sadness. She described what she felt like when she'd been going through depression. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm going through as well. I wish I talked about it with someone. Like, I wish I told my parents or my siblings, for instance. They might be finding out by watching this, I don't know. But times have changed. People are really open about it now.
Yeah, and and that's what we're saying. We're talking about going through the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
And for many times, as men, we go through these things alone.
Yes. Yeah.
You can tell that your friends can tell that there's a problem,
Yeah.
but your friends cannot tell you that the problem that they're seeing is the problem that you are seeing. All right? So, yes, you are telling us you have friends who could pick out, who would later tell you, everything had dimmed, but it's later.
It's later.
At that point,
Yeah.
at that point, what kind of conversations were you having with your friends and your family?
Yeah, you try and keep up appearances as much as possible, and make the statements that you're making are not as grand or as big so as not to cause panic. You talk about a bad day at work or a bad week at work or a bad month at work, but not talk about the fact that over the weekend you can't get out of bed, or that you can't communicate with people, or that you're in a room full of people and you just want to run away. I tried doing the social thing, going for events and hanging out with friends where they were. I mean, I was in my I was in my late 20s into my early 30s, so it was still a time of a lot of socialization and a lot of socializing, and that was difficult. I would have to either run away or retreat somewhere. I also threw myself into the work I enjoyed. So whatever acting gigs I could get outside of work, I'd try and do those. But I remember even those were difficult. I remember being in an audition room because I was going to be directing a play at Mavuno Church. And we tried to keep the audition as friendly as possible. So we always wanted to have actors come in and you welcomed them and said, this is what you're auditioning for. And by the time I'd been done to the sixth person, I told them, so this is what you need to do. And I just went, whew, okay. And everyone in the room goes like, what's going on? And I said, okay, all right. So what I was saying was, and I just, clammed up again. I was going to burst into tears again because I was on the verge of like a anxiety attack, and then my anxiety attacks were in tears, so I was right about to just like burst into tears. So when I felt my face like contorting, that I just and said, so so what I was saying was, and that was the moment just passed, and you'd really have to be paying attention to pick up and see that there was something that went wrong there. The other thing that happened was that there was a lot of other people who were going through similar things, and we'd talk in code, in shorthand. You don't really reveal everything.
Nobody is saying that we are, having this conversation.
Yeah.
in a fellowship.
Yes.
As a fellowship of people who are depressed. But you all know that we have something
Something's
in common.
going on, yeah. And then we'd keep, are you doing okay? Nah, it's hard, but I'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It was that kind.
Did
those
you
kind
ever
of
cry in
conversations.
front of someone?
That's a good question. Did I ever? Do you know, I don't think I ever did. When I think about it, I've never thought about it until you asked the question. No, I didn't.
You'd always retreat to your own corner, to
Yeah.
your own space,
Yeah.
cry,
Yeah.
put up this strong face,
And then get
come and
back
face
out.
the world.
Yeah.
And come and now try also be the big brother to somebody else who you think is going
It's
through
going through the same thing.
some problem in life.
Yeah.
This is something that's common with human beings and especially with men.
Yeah.
Going through stuff, not sharing, you can sense that your close friend is going through something. You never want to push them to open up. You never want to open up yourself.
Yeah.
Today, as you look back at those days and what you went through, your own depression and coming out of it,
Yeah.
are you able to sense when somebody, a close friend of yours, is going through something similar?
Yes, I am.
How do you handle it?
Oh, man.
As the friend now, as somebody who's been there.
I'll be very honest. Pandemic times have been hard. Pandemic times I found myself flailing a lot again. Finding myself in that, well, I'm not back in that space, but that space was like 10 years ago. So now I know the signs to look out for. I know what I need to do. And my coping mechanism a lot these days is to just withdraw. So, man, I'll commiserate with people when I'm with them as much as I can, if I'm physically present, which of course it's tough now, again, because of pandemic times.
Yeah.
But reaching out and telling them, let's sit, let's talk, let's have a meal, that's the thing I try to do. I don't always succeed though, because many times I think I don't have the reserves myself to start opening up and taking this. So I made the decision to really try and take care of myself first. So I'm not giving out too much that I have nothing left, because without my own reserves, I'm done.
You don't want to take up another load on your shoulder when your shoulder is not strong enough.
Yeah,
anyway
not
to
at
take
this
up.
moment.
All right.
Yeah,
And as you look back at all those, what is currently happening, what has happened previously, and just looking at more and more of your peers, your contemporaries, and you can sense that there's something happening. What would you tell people?
I would say do whatever you can to take care of yourself. You are the most important person in the equation. I used to think that was a selfish statement. I used to think that if you're when they're being given the flight instructions and you're told if the oxygen masks drop, put yours on first before you try and help anyone else. Vaa yako kwanza, because you'll go trying to help someone and something might happen. Put on your own oxygen mask first. That's the best advice I can give you. Do whatever wellness exercises you can do. The basics. Get enough sleep, get enough rest. For crying out loud, please get some rest. It's not lazy to take breaks for your body to readjust to some sense of normalcy. If you're suffering insomnia, if you're prone to anxiety, go out and take a walk, experience nature. The weather is changing, it's lovely outside. Take walks where you can. Involve yourself in activities that build your soul, whether it's hanging out with your family, whether it's taking care of a plant, whether it's investing in a hobby like trying to paint or something, whether it's hanging out with people that you love, whether it's cooking, whether it's hiking, whatever it is that you feel, I'm front and center of this and it's doing something for my soul deep inside, do that. I'll also say stay true to yourself. A lot of people are in the dumps right now and still can't admit it to themselves because they're still living by this archetype of what a human being or what a man can be. My friend, those collapsed in 2020 along with the world. You can't go back and start picking through the ruins and start trying to construct this idea of a man that is now dead and gone. You get to decide what your masculinity is about. The world is free enough to accept it, and the world is free enough to accept you, but you really have to accept yourself first.
Define your own self.
Yeah.
Define your own identity and your own masculinity.
Yeah. do it. And then there you find that you find your own route. And the amazing thing is once you start doing the work, things open up for you that you thought couldn't. You might find that you find friends that you thought you'd never were capable of having or keeping, or that you had love interest might show up out of nowhere, or you might have a skill that you had sat on for a long time. That's living. It's in the small day-to-day moments. It's not this grand thing that we're looking forward to in the future. In 2020, we all thought we were going to die. Where did we think these futures of ours that we had planned before were going to show up from? Where's the future that we think 5 years from now is going to show up? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in 2022 or 23.
True.
So why don't I just do the most of what I can right now? Because this is really the only moment we have.
For those that may be going through something today, just give them your own personal experience. What are your triggers?
I am afraid of people. I won't even lie. Being out in events is still a very, very scary thing, especially when there's a lot of people, and especially where people are doing a lot of fronting. I don't think I could do a cocktail. What do you do with the drinks and this again?
I do this proper
I don't think I can do that stuff anymore. There was a time I could, but I couldn't last long. Now I don't think I can last a few minutes.
What would happen?
I'd feel panicky. I'd feel like everyone in the room has it all figured out, and I don't.
And you're the only one in the room
who doesn't, yeah. But then I also know that they also feel the same about us. So I'll be like, so what are we doing here? Why are we all pretending that we all have it all figured out? So I wouldn't want to be there for very long.
Okay.
I also know overworking myself that's another potential trigger. Kuishi na chuki na watu, having grudges against people, having bile with people, having malice against people, bearing grudges, not forgiving people, that really weighs on me. So with being able to forgive myself more, I find that I'm able to extend that same grace to others. So that takes care of that. Not resting enough, not experiencing the outdoors enough, that also just gets me all crazy. So I try to get as much of that as possible now. I would appear to my 30-year-old self to be a lot lazier than I was then, because then it was all about let's get this done. We can't be sitting still. We can't, we have to be moving. And I'll meet people in their 20s and 30s who are exactly the same, and I'll be like, wait, enjoy the time.
Slow down.
Yeah, enjoy the time, but please. Also enjoy your wins. Enjoy your wins. I see people do amazing things, and I wish I could do that when I was 25, and they'll be like, but I'm like, no, but enjoy what you're doing now. This is how you, I'll borrow a Christian term, like minister to yourself. This is how you build yourself up. This is how you recognize the things that God put in you that are good, by saying that I did this thing and it was good, just like he did when he was creating the earth. And rest. Please, grab all the rest that you can. It's not being lazy. Yeah.
It's being true to yourself.
It really is being true. It's taking care of yourself.
Thank you, Mugambi.
All right.
Thank you for opening up, for sharing these stories.
This was a good conversation. Thank you so much.
Asante. Yeah. This is what we have here in the Mancave. It's about opening up. It's about sharing your own experiences and contextualizing it for everybody else who would like to understand. Mancave, thank you for watching.